Welcome everyone tonight to this special edition of our Tack Room Chat. We've got JJ with us. And as you know, this is your opportunity to ask, where do I start? So we are well aware that there is a lot of content in the Academy, and it can be a little confusing maybe sometimes to get started. But before we get really rolling with the questions, I wanted to take a minute and show you guys a couple of features you may not be aware of. Let me get this.
Chris, can you make sure everyone's also muted?
I believe everyone is.
Okay, great.
You know what? If you hear something, that's my puppy chewing his bone.
Okay.
Sorry, but he's quiet. So normally when you go into the Academy, this is what you should see. So I'm on the desktop. It might look a little different when you're on your phone, but it should be pretty close. If you go into your lesson library, there's something that you may not be aware of. Under this category, the Welcome to Team Tate Academy, if you go here, there is a content index. This index has a listing of every single video that we have put out, and they are in order by when they came out. One of the really cool features here, and I apologize, my mouse is sort of misbehaving today, is this search button up here. Which it's not super obvious, but it's pretty cool. So when you go here, you can say, boy, I remember a Norma video, and you can put Norma in, and you will find all the videos with Norma, or anything else that's in the actual title, it will search for. The other way you can do this is actually right at the top when you're in the lesson library, you can search here. And again, let's do Romeo. You can find Romeo. So this is a great way if you sort of remember you saw something, you may remember the horse. If you're like me, I always remember the horses more than I do people. So this is another way, if you're not aware, that you should be able to search for videos. So hopefully that'll help you. And I guess we can get started with some questions. And before we go further, I just want to say thank you to everybody for sending questions. We got a lot of questions. So.
Yeah, it's really fun to be like super interactive. Because we have a lot of new members after we've now like opened the doors and we're kind of like evergreen. So if you guys like what you are experiencing please tell your friends, because we've just got the doors open because we want to share. And just make a bigger like-minded community that everyone feels like it's a safe space. Everyone feels included, for any kind of type of horses. We just want to help you guys understand the sport better, get more out of your lessons at home, and create, a group of people who care about doing it right. So I'm so thrilled. There's so many people here tonight, and we got a lot of great questions. So Chris, I don't know if you want to read the questions or if you want me to read the questions. I don't know how you want to do it.
I can read what I did. So I'm going to apologize up front to everybody that sent questions. I condensed your questions down so that we could kind of get through them. So I'm not going to read everything that y'all wrote, but I just go through them all. So hopefully, so we'll start with the first one. And it's currently I am working on getting my Andalusians trot longer, not quicker. Not longer as in lengthening, but in stepping under. Recommendations to help.
Yeah, I mean, I think Spanish horses, Andalusians, PREs, Lusitanos, Lipizans, all the Baroque breeds are tend to be a little bit more leg movers than back movers. So I think to start with anything about what you want the horse to respond to your leg with. So I think, I'm probably going to say this like 1,000 times, but like turn on the forehand and the quarter turns on the forehand, I think are great for that, because again, it's a little bit changing the direction and the trajectory of the hind leg, right? Like when I want the back to be looser, or I want the hip and the SI to be looser, and even the shoulders to be looser, I want to teach the horse to laterally yield so that I can put that inside hind leg farther underneath the horse's body, like put the inside hind foot more towards the midline. And that's going to teach the horse how to raise up the back and drop the neck down, So I think, anything with the turn on the forehand videos, I did a full turn on the forehand with Darby. I did quarter turns on the forehand with Gideon. I think that's all super great. And I think cavalettis are really great to take a longer step. So there's a couple videos that they're all with Apollo. I believe there's 3 with how to incorporate cavalettis into your work a little bit more. That's very good for teaching the horse to change the range of motion. You know what I mean? Of course, something like road trot with Romeo is something you want to build up to. But sometimes before I can actually get to the road trot, I need to actually expose the horse to a longer stride. And that comes from looseness in the back and the horse knowing that he can take a longer stride, not a faster stride. And so I like to teach the horse a directional goal with the hind leg, and as well as, cavalettis. I think I did it with Montana. I'm just going to look here quick at the lesson library with Montana. I think I did counting strides. Mm-hmm. I believe that was in the Canter. Counting strides, that was in the way beginning. Counting strides. Chris, was that with
it's counting strides and trot and canter with Gideon.
Okay. There's also one I did with Montana that was actually the part that's on the front of the academy when I was on Montana and doing maybe it's developing a better canter with Montana. Anyway, it
was the pelvis. Yeah. I'll look.
Because I think also to help the horse learn to take longer strides in trot, I think we also can teach it a lot of taking bigger strides in canter. And so this counting idea is really great. And I actually got really inspired after Susanna Van Dietz was here. And I'm going to do some videos now coming out soon because we talked about between each letter. So of course, the arena is from the corner to the first letter. So from the corner to F is 6 meters. And then it's 12, 12, 12, 12, and then 6. So that's the 60 meters in the arena. And between the 12 meters, so it's between F and, I think that's, what is that, S? No, sorry, that would be P. The middle, between the 4 letters in the middle, that is going to be 12 meters. And so you want to, in a perfect working canter idea, you want to be able to hit that in 4 strides. And so it's a 3 meter stride. So that was really interesting. I'm going to do some videos on that, but I do quite a bit of counting in the canter with Montana and Gideon. And I think when I want to teach the horse, right, how to find its IT. There is a video with Romeo about finding the IT, but even before then, I want to teach the horse again the turns on the forehands. I want to teach it over trot cavalettis. I want to teach it also to lengthen the stride. And so I also think in the trot exercise category, the idea of half halts and what was that one we were just talking about with Gideon, Chris? The half halts in the ride.
Half halts and posting trot.
Yeah, I think that's quite good to talk about the swing of the horse's back. And that's usually you can encourage the horse's back to swing with the swivel seat. And that idea of helping the horse roll through his body a little bit more. Does that make sense, Chris?
Yes. And that one at the Canter was developing a better canter with Montana.
Okay. Because I do think horses need to learn to open up their body. And I feel always the easiest and best way to do that is through canter. So then I want to sometimes take that like bigger canter, and then I can like translate that, into the trot as well.
Okay. The next one is, how do I get my horse to go? He is free, forward, and flowing out in the field, but when in an arena, it's like his gas pedal is broken. We've had a number of these questions, so.
Yeah. I think we've got 3 really good new ones. I think 2 have already, or 1 came out already with Benson.
The first one is today.
Yeah, so raising the energy up as well as getting the horse to feel in front of the leg. Of course, we have Gideon's video of behind the leg. But I also use Benson, who's a wonderful schoolmaster, who's a really like good dude and is like always ready to like power down. So he's not the most like inspired horse. And so we just did 3 new videos, and 1 I think is coming out. 1 came out, or is 1 coming out today?
Yeah, 1 came out today. The first one using the seat. Okay,
so we talk about using the seat. And then in the next video with Benson, we talk about how to use the leg. And the third one is how to like raise your vibration in a different way than I did it with Fiji. So I also then took a new one out in the outdoor with him, how to like ride the horse like up off the forehand. Because some horses, get out in the field, they're really inspired. Fiji was like that. I would go into a normal arena, he would get a little bit less. I would go into an indoor arena, way less. I would get into the show ring, less. I would get into an indoor show ring, less, right? He would always feel like he had this like ceiling on top of his enthusiasm. So I did do a lot of work. I tried for his mind. I got him out of the ring a lot. So he did a lot of his fitness work, always out of the arena for sure. But there is like this way of like being able to inspire without like picking on the horse. But sometimes I know there was another question about like, I don't want to get loud with the horse, but I do have to inspire it to like move. And of course, like we always have to go over the things of like saddle fitting and vet checks and all this stuff. But that idea of keeping your inspiration up, and those videos will all kind of talk about how to like, woo, like, here we go, like up we go. I think also a lot of canter trot transitions and a lot of big canter. Like, again, that like what I learned in Germany was like, we in America, when I first went to Europe and I went to EULA's, Jessica, more canter. We did a lot more canter than I had been doing in America. So that was like my first, like, wow, the Europeans are doing way more canter, and they're going way more forward in canter than I was, or that I had experienced or witnessed. And now, like, coming back as a teacher, being in Germany, we definitely are not riding forward enough, and not enough canter in general, and not enough forward in general. So I do like that. I don't think we do in America either, like enough technical counting of the strides, right? Like my event riders count strides like all the time, but like I feel like in dressage, like we don't. And so we also have to have this like great understanding of like what's a good canter and what's a good trot, and like how many steps needs to be, what does my horse do, you know? And we've all got horses of different sizes and gait length. So I think it's important to get those little soccer cones and make yourself one half of the circle that you know how many strides do I have of trot and canter. And then can I change that, you know, in the indoor, and work on that feeling of like, if he's not responding, I need to like, woo, like I need to give him a little wakey, you know, idea. Not to pick on them, but a little bit quicker leg aid to think about inspiring the horse to go more forward. So I hope that is helpful, you know, for that. But these behind the leg videos with Benson, I think everyone's going to find a little bit more interesting, because I really only have like one video in there about Gideon being behind the leg. And I have another 2 interesting horses in training right now that might be good too. One bulks, one like halts and kicks at your leg a little bit. So that might be something interesting to add into the academy.
Yes. All right. Switching gears. I have a coming 4-year-old mare who currently has 6 months under saddle. What are the best videos to develop her properly? I plan on bringing her along slowly and will not be pursuing the FEI young horse classes.
Okay. I think any video with zoography would be great. I think I did, it must be in the connection category. Let me look here, because I think it's important to teach a young horse how to stretch down. So I think I did that with improving posture with EVAR and building the top line with EVAR. Mm-hmm. I think that's important to really teach a horse, like, okay, with EVAR, it was like a retrain. But that's a little bit like what a young horse needs to start in the right way. Seeking the contact with Norma, presentation of the bit with Montana.
Stretching down and trot with Montana.
Yes. And I think I did stretching down in the canter with Norma.
Yeah, you did an introducing and then a stretching down in the canter with Gideon. So the introducing stretching down is more of a young horse.
Exactly, because I do think it's going to be important with a young horse to, number one, think about the longitudinal balance, right? Like the horse needs to be on the bit and like rounded up. I also think something that's very evident in young horses is that natural crookedness that happens, and that you will see and hear about quite a bit in any of the zoography videos, because I think she is 5 when we took the videos, and that was very much about straightness, like the straightness and spinal alignment with zoography. Most horses have that. She was a great example of like an exaggerated version of that. But most horses have that same crookedness. If your horse doesn't, and it's the opposite, then you can just actually just reverse all of the concepts if you happen to have a right-handed horse versus a left-handed horse. And we do have, my working student has a wonderful 3.5-year-old. So we've actually talked about doing some more videos of him to just kind of talk about like, what are the basics, but I think anything about that idea of longitudinal flexion and then really step by step starting to tackle the crookedness situation, I think is important. And then of course, like growing the gaits is also great too, but I feel like the spinal alignment and the roundness, I think, is really important for the young horse. But we're going to do some more videos this winter of me teaching one of my working students on her like baby horse.
JJ, what do you think about all the videos in the warm-up category? Do you think those would be appropriate for a young horse?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Of course, not maybe cavaletti, but the long and low is important. Stretching down at the trot with Denali, that was a big one. Stretching down in the trot with Montana. I mean, I do talk a little bit about how I teach my young horses to stretch. And like how I use Montana, even though he's not a young horse, but I think that is really important to teach the horse how to seek the bit. And I would say one of the biggest things I like fix on horses I get into training is this idea of the acceptance of the bit and the raising of the back and the seeking of the bit. I think is really an important concept that I don't think is, you know, I don't know, kind of important. I don't know, focused enough on, you know, even a Grand Prix horse should still seek the bit and like stretch to the bridle. And then I would also do with Denali, I did a yielding on the ground. And, I think that was really important. I don't know what category that is in. Where is the groundwork?
Is under, I believe, let's see where. That's the double bridle. Let me find that. I know what you mean. Working in hand and under saddle with Denali. It's under cross training.
Cross training. Okay. So that was definitely a big thing that I had to teach him how to yield away from my leg from the ground, because I couldn't do turn on the forehand because he didn't understand how to yield. So a lot of times I will start that conversation, and turns out every Grand Prix horse that I get that has problems, it rears or it's stuck or it doesn't seek the bit or whatever. A lot of times I will go back to some groundwork like that, even though like groundwork leads to piaffe. I sort of start with that ability to yield it away from the inside leg and learn to shape its top line and push the hind leg to the bit and round up the back. I do that a lot on the ground first, and then I take that to the saddle and start to teach a little bit the turn on the forehand. Sometimes with the first lateral work I sometimes teach is the plie and the canter. So that's a good one to watch too with Isaac. That is in the category of canter exercises. Chris, am I right there?
Yep. Plie with Isaac is under canter exercises.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I teach my young horses as far as like lateral work. I do teach a little bit leg yield in the trot. I don't do a ton at the walk because I want the horse to just feel like it can like walk forward. And I might teach, I try to stay away from the walk as much as possible, but I do teach a lot on the ground because I want to like introduce the concept, but I don't want to futz with the walk too much. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and we do have coming out next week, Connection from the Ground Up with Raffi.
Great. Yeah, that's a good start.
Okay, so kind of the other end of the spectrum. I have a new equine partner that is classically trained through Grand Prix. Which exercises can help me with the I'm sorry, I skipped through this. I am revisiting basics because he has a slight tendency to curl behind the bit, have a tight neck, and hollow his back. Which exercises can help me with the retraining process to establish a more solid connection and move through the back?
Okay, so now interesting, right? Like, so with a trained horse, I would go to haunches in and haunches out to half steps with Raffy. That's in the trot exercise category, because you want to challenge a horse that knows the stuff, right? Like he knows FEI, but he doesn't really seek the bit. So I love to do the haunches in, haunches out on the circle. I like to do the like circle points in the 3-loop serpentine line with Denali. That's also in trot. I also like the haunches in on the 3-loop serpentine line with Gideon. I also like the, where is that video, Chris, with Montana, where I half pass to the trot, pirouette. I don't see that in the trot exercise category.
It's probably, I have transitions in half pass with Montana, and that's under the half pass category.
Oh, okay. It's going to probably be in the half pass category. Let me just get that out. Yes. So it's going to be, because I don't know where this is. There's a half, I know it's with Montana. So you can probably go on the search button and look for Montana. And it is a half pass to a piaffe pirouette back to the half pass.
That's going to be under piaffe and passage, I bet.
Okay.
Oh, no, I don't see it. Montana, I will search.
Okay. Yeah. Transition exercise? No. Yeah. See, this is exactly why we're doing this, because there's so many videos.
There's so many. And I can sort of remember it too.
It is the ribbon exercise, Robin. You're totally right. Chris will find it for us.
Yeah.
But like, that's the thing with a horse that knows his stuff. Spiraling in and spiraling out at the canter. I believe I do that with Gideon. I want to do with Montana soon. That's been on my radar, to do a stretching down at the canter pirouette idea. I also spiral in with Fiji. That's a very good one. Because it's like, you can't just take this FEI horse and go back to like, I need to ride you training level. You need to put the training level back into your Grand Prix horse. And so you need to, and I feel like that's been a big part of my career, is like reviving, FEI horses that needed a little bit better training. I've also trained a lot of horses, like from, like young horses to the Grand Prix. But a lot of my clients, they get a schoolmaster and you're like, yeah, this is great. But, it's like locked onto the contact, or really crooked, or ridden heavy, or whatever. So I like to, and Spanish horses especially like footwork. They like to be busy doing something, which isn't like just stretching. That they get real bored with that and might, whatever, because they're bred to be keen. So they're waiting for information from the rider. So I like to, and Grand Prix horses or FEI horses are also trained. They're like trained to be keen, and they're ready to listen to the rider. So we have to not just tell them stretch down. Oh, I hope you stretch down. But it's like, do this exercise and like seek the bit, so shoulder in, shoulder out with Gideon is a great exercise. Haunches in, haunches out to half steps with Raffy is really good. Half pass to leg yield with Raffy is really good. Spiral down with Gideon. I did the walk pirouette to canter pirouette. That's very good. I think with Darby, I did actually something similar where I walked the pirouette and then picked up the canter.
Yep.
So anything with that walk pirouette to canter pirouette will be good. Because it's all about making the horse rounder and raising the back and seeking the contact and getting more correct in the carriage.
So those videos we were looking for are under integrating exercises because it's
okay.
multiple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Because when we integrate more than one video together. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Let's see what's next.
Yeah. So actually, sorry, just to go back to that last question, going into the integrating exercises where it's kind of like hard questions for the horse, right? Like this is the haunches in plie, shoulder forward at the canter. This is half pass, shoulder forward, counter, canter, full pass with Gideon. Like these are all going to be great. And there's also suppling the pelvis, over flexion, which would also be great for your horse that if he's behind the vertical and wants to get like short and empty, this will be also very good. The half pass to the renvers with Montana, all those integrating exercises will be great for a horse like that.
Okay. I have access to all these lessons, but it's difficult to know where to start. Where is the best place to dive in to start a systematic study of JJ's lessons?
The seat.
I thought the fundamentals too.
Exactly. I think
has
that's
access to that.
Exactly. I think, yeah, the Team Tate fundamentals, those are 12 videos of like the basics of what I have been taught. And like, I didn't make any of this stuff up, right? Like I am just the messenger, like of stuff I know works because I've been practicing it for 30 years. I teach it, I ride it, these videos, they're amazing, but it's really like what I've been explaining, for the last 30 years of teaching. And it's really funny because Richard, my husband, or who's ever videotaping, has to like raise their hand at 9 minutes. So I have like a concept of like how long I've been talking. And then they have to start waving at 11 because again, I just have said these things because it's how my brain has processed this really great work from these lessons I've gotten from like amazing teachers, mostly of course, Charles de Cumpy, but I mean, Richard Williams, Gerhard Politz, Susanna van Dietz, Ali Brock, Michael Klemke, Eula Dalosh, it's like just to name like a few, Stephen Peters, of course. And then it's interesting, right? Like then you can like take a lot of these ideas that like I have put into a lot of words that have made more sense to me and have made a lot of sense to my students, because you're going to have to hear things like 5 different ways for it to be like, oh, so that's what she meant by sit more forward. That didn't mean like lean forward on your crutch. That's what this meant, So I think the fundamentals are a great place to like get the meat of what we're talking about. And that in there, it's a mix of lectures, it's a mix of written demos, and it is a few different videos to get started, So I think that's a great spot. And then I think also then the seat and the position, because again, like we really pride ourselves that it's a riding sport and not a horsing sport. So we all need to learn to ride better. And I think the idea of connection is probably like the third place I would go. So fundamentals, seat, and then connection. And then start to, kind of ask yourself, how do I do something in the horse's body. I need him, like, what's the first thing I should ask for in Canter? And I would go into Canter exercises and then work your way through that, if that makes sense.
Okay, that's good. Let me see. I have a 23-year-old Canter mare. My particular issues include all work on the left hand. It's hard to move her shoulders over for shoulder in, difficult to move haunches for haunches in, particularly getting that right hind under her, challenging for her to canter in a circle without throwing haunches in and right shoulder out, and difficult for this rider to maintain her position. If JJ can suggest what videos to watch, that would be great.
I mean, I would say anything with Zuckerfi, don't you think, Chris?
Yeah,
like, that is Zuckerfi, like, in a nutshell. Like,
yeah,
exactly what I was saying. Like, most horses have that same crookedness, and that's like in the science of riding. That's also in your Ride Your Horse Sound lecture series. We talk about that need for alignment and stacking up on all four corners. But exactly what you're describing is like every video I made of Zuckerfi, just because it was so obvious. It was like every horse's normal crookedness, but like exaggerated, so I really talk you through how to put the shoulders over, how to get her in alignment.
Yeah, every single one of those, changing the bend.
Every single one with her, whether that's warming up with her. That was really evident in any video with her.
What about square turns?
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going to. Yeah, and I think square turns and turns on the forehand, right? And I do think any lateral work that we talked about, which I think is a lot in the trot exercises. Yeah, I think a lot of those are going to be in the trot exercises, which is spiraling in, spiraling out, anything with the shallow loops, the leg yields with the quarter turns. That's with Norma. Yeah, any of those lateral work. But I think you're going to get a lot out of the Zuckerfi. If you have a crooked horse, you're going to get a lot, like a younger crooked horse, you're going to get a lot out of the Zuckerfi little pummel. She was a very good example for that. Yeah.
I would say, though, don't let the fact that it says young horse put you off if you have an older horse. And the same with videos that are that might sound like they're beyond you. There's so much information in these, watching just the any lateral work, even if you have a young horse that's not going to be doing haunches in. I think you can get a lot from those videos as well. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, thank you.
There's just so much.
Yeah. And I think we've always talked about that, like in our own like Team Tate Academy meetings, we're kind of like, yeah, I have a way because I've trained a lot of different level and different quality and different types of horses. I think I bring a lot of basics into the harder stuff. And I think it bring a lot of harder stuff into the basic stuff, so that even if it's like, yeah, we're talking about, leg yield, that might be helpful for your Grand Prix horse, and like the idea of a quarter canter pirouette, that's going to be helpful. Yeah, exactly what you just said. Like, you need to know where you're going and how it's all related, because it's very much a systematic, gradual build up of the horse. And everything you do when you're younger, you're kind of paving the road to what you're going to have in the end. If you buy an FEI horse, you got to kind of fix anything that's happening. You got to fix it back in the basics, so it's kind of like never not basics. And I think in the videos, I think we do a good job of connecting that So that even though it's like, oh, that's for a young horse, or oh, that's for an older horse, I talk a lot of the theory and I bring in a lot of different concepts from different videos to help connect you guys to the whole picture. So yeah, just like Chris said, like definitely check out the more advanced videos too, because you'll feel how it's all connected, I think.
Yeah, I just want to add to, like, my perspective of the canter changed entirely once I started watching like canter pirouette videos and the canter, flying change stuff. I'm not near that with my horse, but it was like, oh,
yeah,
that's why we do this little shallow serpentine.
Totally, exactly. What did Kelly say? Because I want to hear. I don't have the chat up. What did Kelly say?
Says, I like to look at a variety of videos simply for inspiration and to jog my motivation when I got to a plateau or get frustrated with embracing the suck.
Okay.
We love you, Kelly. Okay. Another question. This is very similar, I think. I have a horse that does not bend as well at the pole going to the left, but seems better to the right. What exercises would be beneficial to help him?
Ooh, I would say where's the one on the ground with Denali?
Oh, that's under, I believe,
you just had it there. Problem solving, I think, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
I would have some ground yields to teach the horse how to supple through his pole. I think
working in hand,
cross training. I think also what's interesting is the flying change in the trot with Isaac, the shoulder in to the renvers, just teaching the horse to change the flexion can really help loosen like the 4 channels. You know what I mean? When we talk about the 4 channels of throughness, and that's a lecture, it might be also in the fundamentals. I don't know exactly, but that would maybe be an interesting one if you have a horse that's got some throughness issues, because you want to be able to challenge the horse on, right hind leg into the right rein, and then left hind leg into the left rein. And then when you have those ideas, you can like diagonalize them. Then it goes like right hind leg to the left rein and left hind leg to the right rein. And so you've got these like 4 channels of the energy. If the bit was the pot of gold, you want to be able to create these 4 rainbows of connection from the 2 hind legs to the 2 bits. And so any exercise like the shoulder into the renvers or the half pass to the leg yield, with Apollo, the canter leg yield count, you're on the right lead, but you're going to change the bend and leg yield to the center line. I think that's in the warm up. That's very good for kind of asking the horse to really change his suppleness and elasticity in his connection.
Excellent. Okay. This one isn't for me, but it's, I haven't cantered for a while due to some health issues I'm having, but starting to feel better now. What exercises should I have down before asking for the canter again?
Shoulder in, shoulder in, shoulder in, shoulder in, anything with shoulder in.
Yeah.
But I did just make one. I wonder if that's come out yet. I can't even remember what horse it was with.
We haven't done a shoulder in one for a little while, so I don't think it's come out.
I talked about, like, for those of you who are in the winter, before you just go like kicking it into canter, I like to do a little bit the shoulder in and shoulder out on the circle, because I want to not surprise the horse with my outside aids. So anything that goes from bending in one direction and changing the bend and yielding off that new inside leg is going to be like the snowman is really good. So I like to do that because I like to just keep the horse supple and supple and supple and elastic. And then I like to do shoulder in and shoulder out on the 20-meter circle at the trot. And then I every time, I can't guarantee it's going to be good, but it has never failed me yet. I'll never say always. It's always been perfect, but I like to ride the horses inside side, and then I like to ride the horses outside side. And I also want to get information that the horse's back is super loose. And then from that shoulder in, shoulder out, or spiral in at the trot, spiral out. I think I do that with Isaac also. That's very good. I think I also do it with Gideon in the trot. But that's definitely in the trot. I think that is great. And I can just slip into the canter and the horse is like not excited about it. I find horses get super excited when they're tight in the back, when it's cold outside. That doesn't help. But we can't control the weather. So we've got to get the horse available on both your legs and both of the reins, and comfortable also with sitting trot. So you want to make sure you don't go rising trot, and canter, because you want to give the horse the sensation that he can feel your seat in the saddle and not have cantering and your seat in the saddle, because that's then like a double whammy. You know what I mean? So I do a lot of sitting trot. I do a lot of change the bend, shoulder out, back to bend, leg yield in, leg yield out, leg yield down the rail, head to the wall with Denali. And then I have never had a problem slipping into the canter and having it just not be a big deal. And then I would just keep the canter on a 20-meter circle and then go back to trot, shoulder out, shoulder in, shoulder out, cook the trot again, and then allow it to slip back into the canter again.
Okay. This person writes, I have a red-headed New Forest pony who is very athletic and also very opinionated. Getting him straight and in front of the leg is challenging. The canter transitions from walk are pretty good, but from trot, I either over-position him and shut him down or chase and flatten him. Any suggestions on where to start?
Okay, I would probably say the snowman, that's a good one. I would also, I love the turn on the forehand, right? Because he also needs to not bulk from the leg. I mean, it's all kind of about acceptance of the leg. And so the quarter turns with Gideon, with the square turns are good. Square turns with Romeo will also be interesting. Square turns and leg yields with Norma will also be good, because he needs to learn to pick himself up from the leg. So you need to like drive him onto the bit and into roundness and not just like forward. And so you could also do a little school trot, walk trot, walk trot. And Kelly just said square turns with Zuckerfi. And then you could also do like, because he does it good from the walk, I would do like trot, walk, walk, trot, canter. Like I would try to just like, if he does walk to canter pretty good, usually it's the opposite, right? But if he likes to do, we got to also think about why he doesn't like to do trot to canter. And that can be a little bit about your seat bones. So then I would go into, it's actually in Montana's video, suppling the pelvis with Montana, where I talk about my aids for the half-halt bend canter, right? So that's also an interesting video because, does my horse need suppling of the pelvis? Which is, of course, yes, because they all need that, but it sounds kind of like an advanced video, but I actually like break down the aids of trot to canter and canter to trot, right? It's like stretch, close your knees, stretch up, boop, into the trot. And so it's also like half halt, bend, canter, and we talk about the timing of the outside hind leg. So I like the shoulder in and the shoulder out at the trot on the circle. I think that's with Gideon. I like that a lot too, because that gets the rider and the horse thinking about the timing. When you change the bend, of course, the old outside hind leg becomes the inside hind leg, and that can get you a little bit more in sync with being able to control both hind legs in the correct timing.
Okay. You said something that triggered me to remember somebody had asked a question. Would also like to understand better how you ask with your half-halt bend canter in your waiting and yielding video with Montana.
That's a specific question about that video in particular?
Yeah. Yes.
How do I half-halt and wait?
How do you ask?
Okay. Ooh, so that's going to be I think I need to do more on the half halt. This looks like.
I think so.
Right? Like,
yeah.
It might be in the fundamentals, in the 3 seats, the 3 dimensions of the trot with Montana. And it might be in the Team Tate seat, holding, harmonizing, driving, and trot with Gideon. Because I think I talk a lot more about how I'm holding. We need a whole lecture on the half halt. Yes, I agree, Kay. And I think I need to do like a little half halt series, I think. What I'm doing, how I'm doing it, when I'm doing it. That might be super helpful too. So yeah, you guys can for sure, even in the chat, like, with these questions and stuff, it also helps me, know to go deeper into stuff, because I do kind of say a lot in all the videos, but it's fun to also like totally break it down. Yeah. And Kelly, it's so much about like, this is on the bit, this is not on the bit. I could definitely do it. This is a half halt. This is not a half halt. This pulling on the outside rein is not it.
All right, switching gears. Let's see. I have a Frisian Cross. There's an athletic little powerhouse who did 4th level at Dressage at Devon last fall. Currently, his right canter pirouettes are very different than his left. The walk pirouettes are quite good, but the communication in canter is not confirmed. What videos might help?
Walk to canter with Darby, walk pirouette to canter pirouette with Darby, walk pirouette to canter depart with Gideon, and then also with Gideon, that's got to be, I would say probably all in the canter here. Let me find Gideon here.
Under pirouette. Canter pirouettes.
Yeah, there's 6 videos in there. I really like when you say the walk pirouettes are so good. I definitely love anything to do with walk pirouettes to canter pirouettes. And I do the Stephen Peter Diamond is really great. That's with Fiji. Oh, and there was another one with developing the gaits with Fiji. I think was also interesting about how the collection in the canter improved the gait. Because it's interesting to think about the horse that tends to be heavy on the forehand. Ooh, and standing canter. Ooh, that's going to be a good one too. Standing canter with Montana, because that will improve the quality of your canter. And so that will help the ability to turn it, also. And Kelly agreed. So that's good.
So, and it must be right.
And it must be good. And then it must have been the right answer.
Oh, this is a good one. Which videos describe the rider position and use of the right shoulder back, left shoulder back, swivel seat?
Okay. In the fundamentals, you will find a lot about that. the 3 dimensions of the trot. Let's see, hold on, let me find that. The holding, harmonized, driving, and the posting trot and the half halt with Gideon is very good with the swivel seat.
Yeah, and there's swivel seat and canter with Gideon as well in the canter.
Yeah, and is that all in fundamentals?
Well, the fundamentals is just a compilation, so they are probably in 2 places.
Okay, you're right. The 3 dimensions of the trot is going to be a big one about the swivel seat in the trot. And then Gideon does the swivel seat in the canter.
I would like to know what videos I need to watch for my horse that likes to go down and behind the vertical and is on the lazy side. He was trained as a Western horse and spent many years in a correction bit, ported or shanked. Yeah. He is super light ridden in a double jointed snaffle, but he feels too light and likes to stay behind the contact.
Yeah. The good old correction bit. Yeah. I think seeking contact with Norma, stretching with Ivar is big. Mm-hmm. I think anything with Isaac behind the vertical is important because Isaac and Ivar, 2 totally different kinds of horses, both have a tendency to go behind the vertical and get a little bit like rolled up. And Norma would also, but she was super light and wanted to always be a little like posy on the bit. So that might help you. Like Ivar will help you teach him how to stretch down and open the back up, which will make him take bigger steps, which will make him go more forward. Isaac will help you. Anything with Isaac and behind the vertical will help get the recipe of like half-halt, give, drive to like change that like, curled up thing. And then Norma will help him it will give you some ideas about helping him seek the bit. Because with that kind of like correction bit, they're always like behind it and kind of like scared to take contact. Oh, there's Richard. Hi. It will help them a little bit trust the bit and then like seek the bit as well.
Okay. 2 more questions. My 18-year-old half-bred Connemara gelding and I are schooling pre-St. George. We are working to improve throughness and hind leg engagement. What specific videos do you recommend?
What level again?
Pre-St. George.
Okay. Standing canter with Montana. And what does she want to achieve? Bigger strides?
No, hind leg engagement. Throughness and hind leg.
Okay, which kind of means, yeah. Trot. Is she specific about trot or canter?
Nope.
Okay. Definitely standing canter because you want to build that up for your pirouettes. Half pass to the half canter pirouette with Montana. I think I do it with Montana. The counter canter, that's with Gideon. The half pass to the counter canter to the center line. Like I keep, it's a ribbon exercise with Gideon. So I half pass to the track, counter canter, come up the center line in shoulder 4, and then full pass. That's with Gideon. That will help the canter a lot. The walk pirouette to canter pirouette videos will help the engagement. Anything with Gideon with the canter pirouette. So I do another like spiral in walk canter, walk canter, walk canter with Gideon. That's a good one. And then in the trot, the haunches and haunches out for sure. With Raffy, with Montana, half pass to the piaffe, back to half pass. That's with Montana. I think it's with Gideon or Montana, but it's the half pass to the renvers, that will change your life. Rein back, I think, is a good idea. Yeah, and I think as the horse gets a bit more trained, like the shoulder in Enfelken is good but hard, and I think the shoulder in with Darby will be good too. I love the school trot for that as well, developing more engagement school trot. So you can do school trot in the 3-loop serpentine line with haunches in. That's really good. Yeah, rein back trot. Yeah, what?
Transitions in half pass with Montana.
Yep, also good. Also good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot. Okay, last question. JJ says she has 6 criteria the horse should meet before she starts teaching the change. Where do you start with those videos?
Okay. Well, I feel like I for sure have 3. I'm going to go into the flying change category here. And there's 15. So there's, but I would say you want to for sure have the 3 things, right? Quality canter, quality of the depart, and quality of the half-halt. So we got to have a good canter first and foremost. So there's got to be a good balance and a good ability, you know, as Eula would always say, like, Jessica, more control in the canter. So transitions for sure within the canter. Counting, I love counting. Then I would for sure go to how good is my canter walk? I think that's a biggie. And I think that ability to like rock the horse back onto the hind legs is huge, right? So even a baby standing canter is important. Improving the canter with Montana with 10-meter circles and walk transitions, I think, are huge. And I like to just go like, you know, 10-meter circle walk, shoulder 4 canter, 10-meter circle walk, straight, shoulder 4, counter canter. That's with Denali. I think it's really important to, flying change preparation with canter walks with Denali. Preparing the flying changes for trot with Isaac. Does canter spiral down with Gideon? That's very good to quicken up the flying changes. But basically anything with Denali and flying changes is big. I think troubleshooting the flying changes is interesting too with Montana. But I think, again, it always comes down, you know, I do also like to make sure I can canter and change my bend. I do want to make sure I can do that, right? So I can be on like right lead canter going right. I can bend the horse left and leg yield in. And that the changing of the bend doesn't mean I'm instigating a flying change, right? That horse has to be accepting that I can change the bend over his legs. And that doesn't mean flying change, if that makes sense.
I think so. I think that's it, JJ.
Okay. I hope you guys found that helpful. And yeah, if you guys feel compelled to write in the chat here or when this is available in the academy, or even email us at Team Tate dressage@gmail.com. More videos you guys want me to, you know, dig deep and dive in, because you know me, I love talking about horses and I love to help you guys understand everything better. So I think definitely a takeaway for me, we need to do a half-halt series. Mm-hmm. And I think also I'd like to break down the aiding system for everything. I do in all the videos, but I could break it down even a little bit more to just talk about like, what are all my body parts doing for that? So thank you guys for the inspiration, and hope you guys found this helpful. And of course, email us or contact us any way you want, anytime. We're here for you.
Yes, we are. Okay. Thanks, JJ. Thank you, everyone, for all your questions.
Make it a great night, guys. Bye.